this application we are able to access on the our web browser. Okay, and where actually it's located, we will understand all these basic things. Okay. So basically, in software world, applications are of different types. Okay. So some of the applications which you see here, say for example, this mm, this recycle bin. Okay. Say for example, these documents folder. All these applications are called as desktop applications. Okay. Okay. So these applications you can access on your system, and you cannot access on, say for example, you cannot access my recycle bin on uh, another computer, right? Unless and until it's like connected to any server centrally. Okay. But so these kinds of applications which are located on your system only and are not shared, these are called as desktop applications. Okay. Then we have another types of application called as web applications. After 1995, okay, web application boom started in the market. Okay. So earlier, most of the softwares they were available locally on the desktop only. But with the start of the internet, okay, the web application boom started. Okay, people started developing the applications for the web. Okay, say for example, I developed an application which can show the photographs of the my friends. Okay, or there was an application which showed us the news. Okay, so we can access these applications from any part of the world. Okay, so these things revolutionized the web. Okay, and it was very beneficial for the humans. Okay, so we need to understand how this is built. Okay, and say for example, I log in. Okay, and how I'm able to log in. So what are the technologies behind that? So basically, there is something called as a server, and there is something called as a client. Okay, so what happens is that so basically there are two persons. Okay, or we can tell about the restaurant. So in the restaurant there are waiters, right? And there are like you people who go to the restaurant, right? You will order something, right? The waiter comes and he tells the cook to cook that say for example some kind of like dosa or something, right? So that cook will cook that dosa and he will give to the waiter, right? And the waiter will pass to you, right? So in that restaurant, you are the client, right? Right. And you ask for food, right? And your query is received by the waiter, right? And the waiter gives to, and the waiter gives your order to whom? Right. And then this chef, he cooks your food, right? And passes to waiter. And then the waiter serves you food, right? So similarly, in case of the web application world, we have something called as a client server architecture. Okay, don't get scared about by this term. This is very simple thing which I try to make you understand by the restaurant example. Okay, So this client server architecture is nothing. So basically, in case of the web world, the client is this machine, right? And on this machine, I have a web browser. Okay. So client has a machine. On this machine, I have what is it? What does I have? Web browser, right? Okay. On this web browser, I can access any web application, right? Right. So what I do, say for example, Times of India. Okay. I can access this Times of India from my computer, right? If I gave you this address, you can also access, right? Every one of us can access this, right? So we are the client. So this basically this web browser serves as a client. Okay. Okay. So all this data, it's not available on our machine, right? Because there are lakhs of millions of news is available on the Times of India, right? So our system cannot store this much of the data, right? This much of images. So this data, everything is stored on the server. Data, logic, images, etc. are stored on the server. So server is basically a different machine, a very big machine if you think. It can process tons of data. Okay. So it's not located on your system. It's a different system located at some other part of the world. Okay. Say for example in the Facebook, Facebook servers may be located in US in some part, right? And it could be a very huge building for these servers. Okay. So so on the server we have some server side language. Okay. Say for example PHP, Java, MySQL. Okay. Say for example. Okay. So these all languages they have the uh, logic for handling the server side stuff. Okay. Say for example in terms of the layman, I have to display this news. Okay. So this news is stored actually in the, I'll tell you. Okay. Say for example, this is my server. Consider this white space as my server. Okay. Okay. This is my DB. So DB means database. Okay. So it has got all the news in it. Data. Okay. Say for example, today two persons were uh, given 10,000 rupees. Okay. For example, today something happened here. So all this data is available in this database and it's located on the server at some other location. And then I have some language called as Java. Okay. Say for example. Okay. Okay. And there is so in Java, what we do is that we write some logic to read the database. Okay. Okay. So all this is available in your server at some remote place. Right. But another question lies how I can access it on my web browser, right? So for that, on our browser, we have something called as client side languages. Okay. So one of the most important is HTML. Okay. If I open any web page, say for example facebook.com, and I right click and I inspect it. Okay. So you see HTML right here. So every web page is built using HTML actually on the browser side or on the client side. Okay. So you can see these less than sign, right? So these are called as tags. HTML tag is there, right? And then you have head, right? And then you have body. Okay. So this all is called as an HTML, and the language is called as hypertext markup language. Okay. This is a client side language. So this helps us to build structure of web pages. Okay. On client side. I hope you understand this, right? If you don't understand, you can just unmute and ask the questions. Okay. So HTML helps us to build the structure of the web pages. Okay. Say, for example, in case of an house. So first, when we start building the house, we build a base of the house, right? And then we lay the bricks on the four sides, right? So consider those bricks and that base as an HTML. Okay. I hope this. I hope you are able to understand this. Okay. Say, for example, I create a new file here. Say, for example, I make some HTML page here. So HTML pages start with the HTML tag and end with the HTML tag. Okay. Then we have head. Okay. Then we have body. Okay. Body can have some data, right? Say, for example, so if I want to write some paragraph, there's a P tag. Okay. So inside the P tag, you might be thinking that why he's telling all this. Because in our test automation, we will be dealing lot with these tags and all. Okay. Say, for example, hello class. Okay. I will save this. Okay. Now I want to see it on my system, right? Okay. I want to see some file on my system, right? This HTML file which I created, right? Right. So this is the page we created, right? So currently this page is on the browser, right? And we have that HTML tag, head is there, body is there. So inside body, we do a lot of work. We create some buttons, we store some images, right? Lot of things we do. Okay. If I add something, mm, so there is another tag called as list tag. Okay. So list, say for example, if I want to list the names of the people in the class, right? So I can have ordered list, and there is another thing called as unordered list. Say for example, hmm. So this is an ordered list. So in ordered list, we will have the different items. So items we store as li. Okay. Say for example, Ramu. Okay. Say for example, Deepa. Right. Let's refresh this and see. Right. If I do unordered list, you will see the difference. You will understand that way. See, currently 1, 2 is coming, right? Now the bullet points are coming. So the difference is that ordered list, the OL tag, it shows the list items in the 1, 2, 3 format, right? And the unordered list, the UL tag, it will show like this. Okay. This is just an example I'm showing you to create the web pages. Okay. P tag is used for paragraphs. Say, for example, I have long text, right? Okay. This is a really long text, right? So it will appear like this. But say, for example, if I want this to be bold, right? And this to be in some other font. Okay. This to be in yellow color, this to be in red color and all. So for that I need, so to make web pages look nice and beautiful. So in case of the houses, so when we build the house with the stones and all, what we do first is that we will do some plastering, right? And after plastering, we will do some colors, painting and all. So similarly, to make our web page beautiful, right? We need to do some painting and all, some designing and all we need to do, right? So for that, there is another language called as CSS. CSS means cascading style sheets. Okay. So what does this language do? This makes our web pages beautiful. In short, I could say. Okay. Say for example, I want this Ramu color should be red. Okay. And this Deepa color should be blue. Okay. Right. Right. And I want the Ramu to have some box outside it. Right. This is Ramu, right? Some boundary I want, right? Maybe I'm using it the wrong way. So I'm saying that so this list we can make colored. Okay. We can uh, we can do lot of the things with it. Okay. Fonts also we can change, right? So cascading style sheets make our web page very beautiful. Okay. So for example, you can see here, right? If I do right click and inspect this, see, so here he has added the font size of 28 pixels. Okay. If I want, I can change that to 50 pixels. Okay. So I'm just quoting an example. Okay. So this is actually in their client side server, client side location, right? So these all things are done on the web browser, and this designing and all is done on the web browser. So understanding the client side is also very important, right? So this was a brief introduction about the uh, cascading style sheets. Actually, if you are a front-end developer, you have to work a lot with CSS and HTML, right? But for our side, we need to just understand the basics, right? Okay, so this is my client. Okay, consider my client as having the web browser installed on it. Okay, and this is my server. Okay, so what happens is that you enter the request on the web browser here. Say, for example, www.facebook.com. This request goes to your server. Okay, and server has all data and stuff related to that web page, right? So it returns back that data and it serves onto your browser. So this mechanism is called as a client server architecture, right? We send the request from our client, that is the web browser, and the request is received by this server, right? And this server responds back with all data and it displays it on the web browser. Okay, this is how actually if we go very deep, it works. There are some processes involved in it. Okay, but for a brief, so this is what happens. So as client asks something and the server responds with something with the data and stuff, right? So this was the client server architecture you should be able to know. And then we will start with something called as languages. Okay. So till now we saw, like, I talked about HTML, I talked about CSS, I talked about Java, I talked about MySQL. So all these are languages, right? So we can have different types of languages. Okay. So one, so before going to that, yeah, if I want to talk with you, right? Say for example, some of you know Telugu, some of you know Hindi, some of you know Persian, some of you know French. Okay. I also know multiple languages. But if I talk with you in a language that you don't know, you will not be able to understand, right? Similarly, for communication uh, between two systems. Okay, this is one system and this is another system. Okay, so there should be a common kind of a language that both the systems will understand. Okay. Okay, so our computers, they understand zeros and ones, right? They understand something called as a binary language. Okay, zero and one. Okay. Mm. But our system, say for example, our CPU chip or something, or CPU, it understands something called as a machine language. Okay. So if I want to write some program in this binary language, which is in the form of the zero and one, it will be very difficult, right? Right. Say for example, if I want to tell it to add two numbers, okay, it will be something like this. Sorry, it will be something like this. Very long, very long. 1960 program for adding two numbers. Actually, if you want to add two numbers, I mean, the program was very big in those days, right? Mm. Okay. So these are called as a machine level languages. Okay. So which only your machine understands. Another person cannot understand it easily. Okay. And it was very tough to code, tough for humans to understand. So if some at some place this zero becomes one, okay, your all program is destroyed. Okay. Tough to maintain. Okay. Okay. So I think in the first rocket that was sent to the moon, these kinds of the languages were used. And after that, in one kind of the rocket, what happened is that instead of zero, one was written. And there was some issue. I think that mission was suspended or something happened. So it's very important and I mean, very important to understand what are the types of the languages. Okay. What are the pros and cons of each type of the language. Then we have low level languages. Okay. So examples were like Ada was there. I think some other types of the languages were there. But some part of them we were able to understand. Say for example, they were in the format add one plus two, something like that. Okay. But again, they were not that friendly, user friendly. Okay. Then there came a revolution called as a high level languages. Say for example, Java, PHP, okay, and JavaScript. Okay. So one important thing I want to make clear is that most of the people get confused with Java and JavaScript. So Java is different language and JavaScript is different language. Okay. So Java is basically a compiled language. Okay. So what is a compiled language? So basically a compiled language doesn't directly execute on your system. So for executing a compiled language, you need something called as a compiler. Okay. So in case of the Java, we need to install Java compiler. So what it does is that it converts Java to Java compiled code. Okay. And this compiled code gets executed. Okay. But in case of JavaScript, it's called as an interpreted language. Okay. As soon as you run it on the browser or somewhere else, it will automatically get interpreted and it will run. Okay. You don't need separate system or separate compiler for it. Okay. So these are the things you should remember. Okay. And it's also in high level language. Okay. Another thing you need to remember it's case sensitive. Okay. Okay. Say for example, we wrote we create a variable. For example, okay, and another variable we create a sam. So these are two different variables. Okay. So you need to understand this thing. Okay. Then comes something as how this JavaScript was started. So back in 1995. Okay, there was a person called as Brendan Eek. He was working at where? Netscape. So Netscape was the company that has built a browser called as Netscape Navigator. Okay, it was very old browser. Uh, so this one was it was in older Windows 1995, 1998. So this was the one of the earliest browsers I could remember of. Okay, and for this browser they needed a language that could serve that could help them creating the dynamic web pages. Okay, so JavaScript helps us to make the dynamic web pages. Okay, okay. Say for example, what do you mean by dynamic? Okay, say for example, currently this text is coming. Tomorrow, different text should come. I will not go every day on this web page and change it manually, right? So in that case, we use something called as JavaScript. So in JavaScript, we can write a code that will make this dynamic. Okay, it will automatically pull the code from the database and will display different text every day. Okay, or something called as a click. If you want to click on this login button, you need JavaScript. So JavaScript powers more than um, one second. So if we see if we see number of the languages that are very famous. So in 2022, JavaScript was number one. In 2014 also, it was number one. Why? Because it serves more than 80% of the websites in the world. Every website will have a JavaScript in it. Okay. You see here, right? This script and all. This all is JavaScript. See how many scripts are there. How many scripts are there, right? So this all is JavaScript. So JavaScript powers your website applications. Okay. And nowadays, even server-side applications are also powered using JavaScript. So there is something you might have heard of called as Node.js. So Node.js is another tool, or you can tell as a server-side language that is built using JavaScript only. Okay. So where see Python is also on the second number, right? So C it started at number one, and then slowly it's very less used there. So it came to the bottom in 2022. So you need to understand the importance of the JavaScript, right? Okay. So there is a person called as a Brendan Eek. He was working at Netscape. So he built a dynamic language called as JavaScript 1.0. In 10 days, he built this. In how many days? 10 days. Then slowly and slowly, he gave another version. Say, for example, in 99, he started 3.0 version. Okay. Okay. So you just need to remember the person who was behind all this. Okay. Any questions till now? Okay. So we understood JavaScript is high level language, right? Okay. It's it can be used to make web pages dynamic. Okay. But Nowadays, it's also used on server side using Node.js. Okay. Okay. So JavaScript is very, I mean, a very large thing. I mean, it has got lot of things in it. I mean, if we start about the introduction only, it can take lot of time, but we are just focused on web automation, right? Using tool called as a Playwright. Okay. So Playwright supports JavaScript. Okay. Then it supports TypeScript. TypeScript is nothing. It's basically you can call it as a um, you can call it as a type of a JavaScript only. Okay. Then it supports Java as well. It supports C sharp as well. Okay. Okay. Then JavaScript has something called as a data types. Okay. I told you last time we can have numbers, we can have strings, right? We can have Boolean, right? Let's go to the terminal and go here, right? So I created a one file called as a hello.js. So you should always remember a JavaScript file should have a .js extension added. Okay. HTML file has okay. You should remember this. Okay. Then HTML file has what extension? .html. CSS file has .css, right? Okay. So these things you should remember. If I don't add the .js extension, my web browser will not understand this file. Okay. I hope till now we don't have any questions, right? So I told you there are data types, right? Numbers are there, right? Numbers are there, right? Then strings are there, right? Then booleans are there, right? So a number can be like we can declare a number like, say for example, I declared like variable a equal to 10. Okay. If if in lot of the programming language you might heard of printing a variable, right? So for example, print f, okay, in case of like Java. So similarly, if we want to print a number or anything to our console, so this is called as a console. We use a command called as console.log. Always remember this. If I want to print this to the console, I will use console.log. Okay. Here I pass the variable name. So variable name is what? A, right? Okay. And I run it using node. Okay. So 10 is printed in my console, right? I do like variable a equal to hello, right? If I do like this, it printed the hello. So I don't, if you guys see, I didn't explicitly entered like number or string here. It automatically understood uh, what is the data type, right? So there is something called as a double as well. Okay. So double is used basically for, say, for example, I do like variable a equal to 11.22. Okay. Then I do console.log. So JavaScript treats this as number as well. But if we go deep down, it's actually a decimal number, right? But you can see here, it's showing it as a number. Okay. Again, if we want to print it as, it will print it directly. Okay. Then we have something called as a boolean. Okay. So boolean can be either true or boolean can be either false, right? Okay. So it printed true, right? If I do for B, it will print true and false as well. See? True, false. If I make it like this will not be treated as a string. If I make it within the quotes, sorry, this will not be treated as boolean. It will be treated as a string. Okay, I will show you how. So there is something called as type of. So type of tells me the type data type of this variable. Okay, if I do type of, like, say for example, a, b is not declared right anywhere. So that's why it threw the error, reference error. B is not defined. We have not defined B here anywhere. Always remember this. If I don't define a variable, it will throw the reference error. Okay. I do like console.log a. Okay. See what it showed me, string. But I have given true inside, right? If I give only true, it will treat it as boolean. See, boolean, right? If I make it as one, it will treat as number, right? If I make it as 1.22, this is also number, right? If I make it as 0, 0 is also a number, right? Correct. If I make it as a, this is also a string. But in another language, you can, this will be character. Okay. They will call it as char. Okay. Don't get confused. Okay. If I do like, say, for example, variable a, okay, and I do console.log a, what it will print? Undefined. So whenever I create a variable, okay, by default it's undefined. Always remember, by default a variable is undefined because I have not defined it, I have not given it any value, right? Right? Always remember this. In JavaScript, whenever I do variable a, but do not give it any value, okay, do not define it, okay. So it's by default its value is undefined. Okay. So what happens actually is, so whenever I do variable a in the memory, and in the memory location, a space is created, an empty space is created, okay, for that variable, okay. But this space is empty right now, right? It doesn't have got anything inside it. So that's why it throws me undefined. Okay. Very important interview question this is. Okay. Let's do -2. Okay. It will bring -2 as well. And this also will be treated as a number only. -2, 0, everything is treated as a number. Okay. So you saw number, you saw string, you saw Boolean, you saw undefined, right? When undefined comes. I can do also like this. Okay. So I can make a variable undefined myself as well. Right? So in some cases, I need to do it. Okay. When we will do a live project, sometimes we might need to do it. Okay. So today we saw numbers, numbers we saw, strings we saw, booleans we saw, and we saw undefined. So these are the keywords. Undefined is a keyword, right? Right. Then there is something called as a comments, which I am giving here like this. Okay. So comments are basically of two types. This is a line comment. Okay. Say for example, if I in programming, say for example, if I don't need this part of code, or I want to make them understand, say for example, for okay. So I want to make them understand what does this for do. Okay. I will write a code here. I will write a comment here. This is for loop. Okay, for example. Okay. This is a single line comment. You just have to enter two these slashes and space and the simple line. Sometimes we need to make a block comment or multi-line comment. Okay. Say for example, I wrote multiple lines. Okay. And I want to make a comment out of it. Okay. See? So this is a block level comment. Okay. Or multi-line comment. So comments are of two types, line comment, and then we have block comment or multi-line comment. Okay. This is very important to understand because if you are working on a project and you don't know what these comments are, you will not understand the code properly. Okay. So to make a second person understand the code, sometimes you need to enter these comments and stuff. I will give you 2 3 minutes. If you have any questions, you can ask. Does anyone has any question? I will stop sharing. Please ask any questions because this is very basic. We are studying right now. I will wait for some time and then we can close the class. Please speak up if you have any questions. Thanks, Deepti. I will wait for 2 minutes more and if you want to copy paste today's notes, I will paste in the chat. Okay. I have pasted some basic things in the chat. Okay. You can copy paste and keep it on your systems. Okay. If we don't have any questions, we will wrap up then. Okay. So tomorrow we will cover document object model and let's see what else we can cover tomorrow. So from tomorrow, we need to be very mm, attentive in class. And if you have any questions, you can ask always. Thank you.